Welcome to Box Recaps. In today's video, we will be going through the 2020 Monster Hunter. It's time to recall. Let's get started. Turn on subtitles and spoilers ahead. A sand ship travels through a huge desert in the New World. Its target is a giant light pillar. A woman is shown looking through a pair of binoculars at the world around her. A man is then shown reading a book that shows the picture of the giant light pillar. A pair of black Diablos, horned wyverns, assault their ship while the grizzled admiral examines his literature and a hunter carves a figurine. The admiral tries to direct the ship as his crew hangs on for dear life. The hunter saves one of his comrades, the handler, from the beast's jaws, only to be thrown overboard. He's left behind in the struggle. A small band of UN soldiers led by Lieutenant Natalie Artemis responds to a distress call from Bravo Team in Afghanistan. In the distress call, Bravo Team pleads for help, saying that a storm is coming and that they have zero visibility. Then, a man says that there's something with them there, and the sounds of gunfire and roaring can be heard. When the soldiers reach there, they see that their comrades are nowhere to be seen, and Lincoln notices their tire tracks stopping in the middle of the road. During their journey, the sergeant asks Natalie about the strange markers on the side of the road. Natalie responds that she is a ranger and not an archaeologist. The soldiers seem to be in a good mood, as they joke about killing mosquitoes. Natalie asks about how the Bravo team was traveling, and she's told that they were in a Humvee. Natalie then comments that something that heavy doesn't simply disappear. Just as the distress call predicted, a big storm loomed over the horizon. They try to flee, but the storm catches up with them. The runes etched on the surfaces of the little pillars around them flash blue when lightning strikes them. Their Humvee and desert patrol vehicle slide down a cliff and crash into an entirely other desert as electricity swirls about them. The storm has gone, and the focus has shifted to a towering pillar in the distance. The soldiers try to figure out where they are, and they ask their teammates if they are okay. Natalie then takes out a map and says, "This is not right." Their cars also stop functioning, and every piece of their electrical equipment is fried. One of the soldiers manages to fix the vehicles, when one of the soldiers calls to them. He says that he has discovered something that the lieutenant should see. The soldier has discovered the burnt remnants of the Bravo team and their vehicles, which appear to have been assaulted by unimaginably hot flamethrowers. A soldier points to something on the ground, and Artemis picks it up and says that it is glass. Basically, the flames were so hot that they turned the sand around the area into a glass. The soldiers then start to move on. During their journey, they start to sing a shanty. As they go on, they come across the bones of a massive beast. One of the soldiers comments that it must be a dinosaur, but another says that he saw a dinosaur in the museum once, and it was not that big. After spotting them with his spyglass, the hunter shoots an arrow into one of the ribs, releasing red chalk and crying out to them. They take it as an attack and open fire because they're on edge. Artemis tells them to quiet down, but the disturbance draws a black Diablos, who chases them over the dunes, half submerged. Unfazed by their weaponry, it quickly destroys the DPV and Humvee, killing Steeler and Axe. As one of them dies, he manages to unhook the grenade around his belt. The grenades explode, and the monster seems a little phased. This allows Artemis, Lincoln, Marshall, and Dash to flee to a cave, with the hunter assisting them from afar with an explosive arrow, and the beast eventually abandons the pursuit. When they're in the cave, one of the soldiers screams about what that thing was, and she says that the lightning did something to them, and they need to go back. One of her comrades tries to calm her down, but she still panics. Artemis steps in and asks her about how much ammunition she has left. The soldier asks her why that matters, and Artemis tells her it matters because they are soldiers, and it is their duty to fight. Artemis then looks at every one of the soldiers and tells them that it is their duty to fight. But her sentence is cut off as she's attacked and wounded by a spider-like Nerscylla as the sun sets. Her warriors defeat the beast, but more Nerscylla arrive, forcing them to depart without her. They quickly murder Marshall and capture the others, despite Hunter's continuous backing. Artemis awakens in the Nerscylla's subterranean nest, upside down. A Nerscylla tears Lincoln apart, as the eggs implanted inside him hatch, and Dash has already died. The venom from the monster is causing her continuous pain, but Artemis manages to function through it. Artemis destroys the creatures with an improvised flamethrower made from an oxygen canister and a flare. Just as she reaches the surface, a flaming Nerscylla grabs her, but she drops the bullets on its head, which explode. Hundreds of others stand close, watching her but unable to brave the sun. She finds the strength to continue, cauterizing a wound on her leg with explosives and sparks from a pair of pebbles while clutching her wedding ring. The Black Diablos resurface as soon as she drops a rock into the beach below. She soon stumbles upon a sand ship cemetery. There she rushes to a bucket in search of water, but finds only sand. As she explores the boat, she hears someone moving around. Suddenly, the hunter from before appears and puts a knife to her neck. The two then start to fight, with Artemis managing to stab the hunter with his own knife. But in the end, he manages to knock her out with a kick, and then binds her hands and starts taking her with him. As the sun sets and the Nerscylla begin to roam again, he takes her to his lair and kicks her knees to make her sit. He eats and drinks, but makes no offer to her. Artemis hears the monsters roaming outside, and when she's about to speak something, the hunter shushes her. The hunter is then seen fixing his wounds with some herbal paste. Later, he makes a figurine and starts to pray to it, while Artemis starts to cut her rope. He opens the door to a safe house and goes out to take a look at the situation around him. He sees the Diablos moving around in the sand, but when he returns, he sees that Artemis has cut herself free. She knocks him out with a stick and then binds his hands, telling him that he will get to experience what she did. The man simply laughs at her, and when she's about to drink water, he kicks the bowl, which angers Artemis. She hits him with a spoon, but he seems unfazed, so she destroys one of the figurines he was praying to the night earlier. This angers the hunter, and he jumps up and frees himself, and then starts to chase Artemis. The two then start fighting again. During their fight, they manage to leave Hunter's hideout and tumble down a hill evenly matched, with the hunter crashing through one of Nerscylla's hills. Artemis takes the hasty choice to save him and cut his binds as they collect beneath him. To his surprise, she gives him chocolate as a peace offering. The hunter doesn't seem to trust her, but she takes a bite first to show him that it isn't poisonous. He then takes the chocolate and seems to enjoy it a lot. He asks her for more, and she tells him that she doesn't have any more. The hunter then offers her some water, and she thanks him for it. The two then start working together, and the hunter tells her that they need to reach the Tower of Light. She tells him that the thing is still out there, and if they reach the tower, they might be able to get weapons that would kill Diablos. The hunter advises poisoning the Diablos with Nerscylla venom. Artemis doesn't understand this at first, and tells him that they should not get into the Nerscylla cave. But the hunter then explains again, and Artemis realizes that it is a smart plan, as you need a monster to kill a monster. Dusk, they set up a snare trap with Artemis as bait. The Nerscylla then comes out and starts to chase Artemis. He pins her against a wall and is about to kill her, when the hunter jumps in and kills her with a sword. They race back to their refuge, chased by the creature's family, with the creature's abdomen stringer. Artemis then tells the hunter that she is a ranger and shows him a Velcro strap, which he seems fascinated by. Dust continues to pour in as the Nerscylla tries to get in. The hunter also explains that the figurines symbolize his family, who were slaughtered by Rathalos while they waited out the beasts for another night. The hunter fashions an arrow from the Nerscylla stinger the next day, and dresses Artemis with sandship graveyard armor and instructs her in the usage of dual blades and a slinger. When she touches the swords together, they emit scorching energy, much to her amazement. They lob a barrel into the Black Diablos' domain to distract it, then flee for the shattered Humvee and the RPG inside. The hunter decides to act as bait, shooting the poisoned arrow into the monster's left eye, but is hurt by the monster's clubbed tail. It becomes bewildered when Artemis draws its attention with a minigun. The minigun then runs out of bullets, so Artemis takes out the RPG and shoots the monster with it. But it survives and upends the Humvee with her inside. The monster then comes to attack her, but the hunter leaps upon its back and plunges the sword into its skull before it can murder her. It knocks him unconscious by hurling him onto a nearby boulder, so Artemis rushes towards the monster and uses her slinger to climb on its head. She then pushes the blade further into the monster's head, killing it. After the monster is dead, she goes to check on the hunter and sees that he is alive, but she observes a storm approaching. So she uses her knife to cut the scales from the monster to make a sleigh and uses it to drag the hunter across the desert. Meanwhile, the hunter goes in and out of consciousness and sees the faces of his dead family members. Finally, when the sandstorm is upon them, Artemis makes a survival tent and uses the medicine she has to treat the hunter as he seems close to death. The next morning, the storm has passed, and Artemis opens the tent. She checks up on the hunter, and he suddenly wakes up. He is able to walk again the next day, thanks to Artemis's treatment, and their journey leads them to an oasis where Apseros, ankylosaurus-like monsters are drinking. The hunter asks her to drink first, but she is interrupted by a scavenging Cephalos jumping from the sand. Anticipating this, the hunter beheads this quickly, and it becomes their next meal. A greater Rathalos assaults the oasis that night. The Apseros stampedes when the winged wyvern sets a fire. Artemis is rescued by the Admiral, who's equipped with his own electrified switch axe, while Aiden and Leah get the hunter to safety before the beasts can drive him off the cliff. The Admiral, wary of Artemis, knocks her out and places her in the brig of the sandship. She breaks the lock to a trap door and falls into the kitchen, where she's frightened by the ship's Palico chef, a human-sized cat. Thanks to the last party of Earthlings that fell into his realm, she is allowed to meet with the Admiral, who knows English, after the hunter vouches for her. He verifies her thoughts that the Pillar, a sky tower created by an advanced ancient civilization, is linked to her arrival. He says that their technology, as well as their communication with Earth, ruined them. The greater Rathalos was tasked with guarding the Sky Tower. In exchange for passage home, she pledges to assist him in confronting it. They started off with the hunter, Aiden, and Leah as part of a group. The Admiral notices an unstable portal at the base of the tower, so they spread out to draw in the greater Rathalos. The Admiral tells Artemis that immediately before it breathes fire, the wyvern is most susceptible. Aiden, Leah, and a few others are swiftly knocked out, but the Admiral, Artemis, and the hunter all strike good blows. She rushes into the vortex and returns to Earth before it can incinerate her. As ground forces approach, she is promptly spotted by an osprey and medically evacuated. The greater Rathalos flies through the vortex as it takes off, ripping the cockpit off and forcing the plane to crash. It turns its focus to the military, where its flames and teeth quickly dispatch tanks and ospreys. Artemis comes from the wreckage to confront the monster once more. She manages to throw an explosive in its mouth as it prepares to shoot flames. The hunter enters the action with a barrage of arrows. One locates an opening in its neck and detonates, killing it. However, before they can celebrate the victory with the Admiral, a new monster appears through the portal, Gore Magala. They realize that their only option is to destroy the Sky Tower, so they charge at the monster as the film ends. In a mid-credits scene, Palico, the Admiral's cat-like companion, arrives to help fight the Gore Magala, while an ominous cloaked figure observes the battle from the top of the tower. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to get new movie recaps.